The garage was a cavern of grease and old oil, where the spirits of vengeance start to simmer and boil. I was tucked in the corner fixing a leak on a 98 Chevy that was tired and weak. It was way past the midnight, the city was hushed, but the doors to the shop were suddenly pushed. It was Stacks and his crew, the ones who run the streets race, with a look of pure panic etched onto each face. They weren't in their usual customized ride, they were in a precinct cruiser, they were trying to hide. My heart did a backflip, a frantic wild jump, as I heard the trunk open with a heavy-duty dump. Hey, grease monkey, move! Stacks yelled at the dark, his voice carrying a jagged electrical spark. I stayed in the shadows, I didn't make a sound as they dragged something heavy across the oily ground. It was a man in a uniform, a badge on his chest, but he wasn't moving, he was finally at rest. My breath hitched in my chest, a cold jagged shard, as I realized the stakes were incredibly hard. They weren't just killing a rival or a snitch, they'd taken down a cop and the plot had a hitch. We gotta frame it, Stacks whispered, his eyes moving fast. We gotta make sure that this moment is his last. They pulled out a bag of work and a burner phone too, placing them carefully like they were starting a zoo. They wiped down the cruiser, they wiped down the floor, while I watched the betrayal through the crack in the door. They were setting it up to look like a deal gone wrong, a story the media would sing like a song. Officer down and a drug bust gone sour, a headline to last through the darkest of hour. But I knew the truth, I'd seen him earlier that day, laughing with the officer in a friendly like way. He wasn't a hero, he was on their own pay, but he'd asked for too much and they made him today. Stacks pulled out a gun, a clean shiny 9, and pressed it into the hand of the man on the line. He fired a shot into the ceiling above, a violent rejection of any brotherly love. Now the officer had residue, he had the weapon in hand, a perfect little play across the law of the land. They piled back into a car that was waiting outside, leaving me there with nowhere to hide. I looked at the officer, his eyes wide and blank, thinking about the money he had left in the bank. He was a pawn in a game that was bigger than him, and the lights in the garage were starting to dim. I had to clean it, I had to wipe my own prints from the tools in the cars, or I'd be the one spending my life behind bars. I worked through the night with a rag and some gas, watching the minutes and the memories pass. When the sirens finally screamed at the edge of the lot, I was gone like a ghost from a cursed haunted spot. I'm the midnight mechanic, the witness to the frame, who knows that the justice is a rigged up old game. I carry the smell of that grease and that lead, and the image of the officer perfectly dead. 100 words of oil and a badge in the dirt, a confession of a witness who stayed silent and hurt.